Veteran's Voice, stories that deserve to be heard, is proudly sponsored by Calling Gilbert, Wright and Carter.
I am Daila Espeut-Jones, First Sgt. United States Army retired, and this is my story. I was born and raised in Jamaica, migrated from Jamaica when I was 15 years old, came to live with my biological mother in Boston, Massachusetts. The environment in that home was not pleasant or desirable. I was molested by my stepfather, subsequently led me into making a decision that was life-changing. I enlisted in the Army at the age of 17, which was immediately after I graduated from high school. I now believe that it is one of the best things that I've ever done in my life. I came in the Army in 1982 at the age of 17. Went through basic training, advanced individual training, and I spent my first 6 years at Fort Eustis, Virginia. During those first 6 years, I met a lot of diverse individuals, met some great leaders, great mentors, and it really put me on a military map of success. I continued to grow when I left Fort Eustis, went to Korea, did a couple years in Korea, and I blossomed. September 11th was a very, very big day for a lot of us in more ways than one. I had just gotten here from Germany. This was supposed to be my last assignment in Orlando, Florida, as an active duty soldier. And we were in a business meeting, and all of a sudden someone came in and said, hey, you know, there's some stuff that's going on at the Pentagon and in New York City. Next thing you know, 5 weeks later, I was preparing to deploy to Southwest Asia, leaving my family and leaving my friends behind. I stayed deployed until 2003. During my deployment, I had some major roles working at different ports in Southwest Asia and on different military installations. And I was in charge of the Kuwaiti Naval Base at one point, leading over 4,500, troops, responsible for the health and welfare of what was going on that camp. And it was a major deal because my family was here, and I was overseas, fighting the war. It was a big deal. It's something that I never expected. Not that I had not deployed before, I did, but this was something, different. And I'm glad that I was able to deploy because I was on a early entry module into Southwest Asia, and that was something, new for me. We did a lot of strategic planning, which help with the success of a major mission. And I'm so glad that I am part of that part of history. The 22 years that I did in the military was fun, but quite challenging. As not only an African-American female in the military, that at times, caused some challenges because just being a female alone, you're looked on in a different light based on, the past of how females, have conducted themselves in the military. And I don't mean that in a negative way. Some folks look at us as we were not strong enough. We were not contributors, to the military. So for me, I think I was faced with many challenges during my 22 years, and I always had to prove myself that I was capable of doing what some of my male counterparts did. When I started out as a young sergeant at Fort Eustis, Virginia, some of the squad leaders or platoon sergeants I had, they gave me challenging tasks or challenging leadership roles. Some of them were always, behind me 100%. Some try to break me. There are a couple that sticks out that made my career to what it is today. I had one, a staff sergeant, Ricky Phillips, who I still keep in contact today. Another First Sergeant, Collins, who is like my dad. Those were the people that molded me, during the early part of my career to make it as successful as it is today. But back on the challenges that I was faced with was the fact that you always had to prove yourself. You always had to prove yourself that you were smart, that you had the strength, that you had the tenacity, to go the distance. And it's all because of the makeup of the military, because as women in the military, we were, or still is, in a man's world. And you always have to go the extra mile. And I'm so glad that today, looking at the way the military is, that they're opening doors to females so that it won't be as challenging, but it will be, of an equal plane. Women have evolved in the military through the past 20, 30 years greatly. You have several females who have made unique roles in the military. They're trendsetters. I'll give you an example. General Dunwoody, who was the first female general in the Army, she made a path that a person like me could take and run with it. Through the years, they have opened combat roles to females, jobs that were not readily available to females, whether you were in the Navy, the Army, the Marines, or, the Coast Guard. The military is evolving. They're making strides to incorporate females in this role. And what I want females to do today is to take that challenge, and run with it. Make it the best that they can make it, to be, so that we'll go down in history as being, some of the best. As I said before, I was in the military for 22 years, went in 1982, retired in 2004. When I first retired, I didn't know exactly what I was going to get into. And after spending many months deployed in Southwest Asia, I wanted to embark on a new life. I did not know how to be a civilian. I didn't know how to wear pumps. I did not know how to wear, a dress and be a girly girl, because I've been wearing the military uniform, for so long. So after retirement, I took a job overseas working again for the military, and that just opened my eyes to new things and new adventures. I was still helping, in a military capacity, but I was also, in a civilian role where I was getting to find myself, in this new life. I worked up until about a year ago and went on a leave of absence. Since I've been on a leave of absence, I've really started pounding in and around the Orlando community as a veterans advocate. This is something that I took on myself because I felt there was a need to do that. We have so many veterans in and around Central Florida that needs help. They need to be recognized. They need to know what's there in the community for them. There are a lot of veterans that's out there that they don't know that they have benefits. They don't know that their time in service count for something. And my job that I made for myself is to make sure that I help other organization to recognize those veterans, to help those veterans, because no vet should be left behind. We fought too hard in this country to make sure that, everyone is taken care of. And it's very sad sometimes when I walk around, the community and I see a veteran with a sign saying, hey, I'm homeless, I served in the military, and they have no way of life. Some may be faking it, but for the most part, I give them the benefit of the doubt, and I try to facilitate. I belong to several different organizations. I sit on both veterans advisory councils in the city of Orlando and Orange County, and that's what we do. We make sure we discuss the issues that are affecting veterans around the area, and we try to work at minimizing the problems that are existing and point the veterans who are here and the ones who are coming in the right direction so that they get the help they need. As a veterans advocate, I see a lot of challenges. Some folks do not want to talk about those challenges because they do not want to step on anyone's toes. I personally don't want to step on anyone's toes, but I think it should be addressed that the challenges that are being faced is a lot of medical issues, and it stems from dealing with the VA. I'm not being negative about the VA, but the VA is still a work in progress. Some veterans are very scared to go to the VA because they get turned down for their benefits and or they're not getting the support that they need. And I'm hearing this from, speaking to several veterans and being a veteran myself. I've encountered issues when I go, to the VA, but I know it's a work in progress and it takes time. So I am going to work with it. So my job is to make sure that I speak to any and every veteran who's scared to take that challenge, who's scared to go register, who's scared to talk to a veteran advocate at the VA, for them to break that barrier and do it because they are deserving of the benefits, and you just never know how much assistance you can get, if you don't go and seek it. They're there to help. They're there to assist. And these veterans need to break that barrier and go, to the VA and get the service that's being provided for them. I'm honored to be called a veteran. Remember, I left Jamaica when I was very, very young, enlisted in the Army at a very early age. And I am proud to say this country embraced me from, day one, making me the lady that I am, today. And that's the reason why I give, back to the community. I want my story to be told so that other veterans, male and or female, to emulate that. Because a lot of times when I go out into the community and I ask for assistance, with the different organizations that I belong to, I get a lot of pushback from different veterans because they're saying, okay, they serve, they don't want to be bothered, or they're retired, they don't want to be bothered. But it's not about us anymore. It's about the next person, because the help and or assistance that we give to another veteran, you just don't know how far that go. I don't look at myself to say I need help. I don't look at myself for assistance. I just want to make sure that I provide the help that I can give in the community that someone else deserves. You just will never know how much you make a person's day by doing that. And I want to continue to do that until I have the last breath in my body. So whoever is watching my story, this is what I ask of them. Just take that leap of faith and help your brothers and sisters, because that's what we are. That's what we promoted in the military, helping your brothers and helping your sisters.